to Swami Bodhamayanandaji and also to Mr. Vijay Mohan who is on the stage, and my respects to all the elders here and best wishes to students. We were supposed to conclude this session at about 1 and now it is 1:15, and I don't think I should speak for more than 5 to 10 minutes because Mr. Murthy, my friend, he had told me some time ago that I had to speak on management with particular reference to our books like Gita, etc. I never looked at Gita as a management book or anything like that. I never looked at Gita as a book of management because as a student of Indian philosophy, I was only looking at it from the point of view of Vedanta, and I was just saying what Shankara would say, what some other man would say, etc. But having been asked to discover something, when I looked at Gita from that point of view, I really found certain things, and then noted down lot many points which may take about 45 minutes, but now we are very much behind time. And unfortunately, I find lot many boys and girls standing right from morning. So if I have some heart, which is the subject matter for today, I should not speak for more than 10 minutes. And I have also invited a guru of mine who is a Sanskrit scholar, who is a Panditji. In fact, I invited him for lunch because I knew that I had to give a small speech here. I told him that it would be completed by 1, and by the time we go back it will be about 1:40 because my house is somewhere in Gachibowli. It takes about 40 minutes from here. So he is also impatiently waiting, and probably you are also impatiently waiting, and even the people who were standing, they also got tired and now they are sitting. So these are the conditions under which I should not take much time. But still, okay, having come here, I'll say for about 5 to 10 minutes. As I was saying, I was looking at Gita from this point of view after I have been asked, and I found that there is a lot of relevance. Only thing is you have to replace the old words by the new words. The old words of Gita, you have to replace by the new words, and you have to also see the entire context of Gita, to whom it was told. Usually the moment we talk about Gita, it is basically we visualize a group of some old senior citizens who are sitting there and then who are just to try to avoid their family members, daughters-in-law or sons-in-law, and then who want to spend some time in some ashram or in some satsang. So that is the type of visualization which we have when we talk about Gita, because all the people who attend Gita classes usually are old people. But unfortunately, Gita is not meant for old people. It was meant to a warrior. In fact, a counselor was telling a warrior on the battlefield, a warrior who gave up his dharma and then who was going out for some other dharma, who wanted to go for bhikshacharyam. So he said, I have not asked you to do the war, because recently there was also some controversy that Gita talks about war and terror and whatnot. I think you must have heard about it. Gita very, very clearly says, in fact the commentators very clearly say, Gita is not for war. It is talking about one's own dharma. It basically talks about one's dharma, that is what is one's duty in a particular context. In fact, it is not Arjuna, it is not Krishna who has prodded this man Arjuna to go for war. In fact, Arjuna went to Krishna's house, he requested his help, and then he asked him to be his charioteer and whatnot, his driver rather. So all that. So it basically, from one dharma, he wants to get out and then he wants to relinquish his dharma. So in that context, it was told. So this comes in you all know that it comes in the Mahabharata as a small, dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna. And then it is basically about what one's dharma is. And when one particular man gets rather disoriented or confused, he becomes emotional about what to do and what not to do when he is facing some of his close friends and relatives. So Lord Krishna only wants to give a broader picture. He wants to give a greater perspective. He wants to tell about the higher principles which our friends have told. And then that is how he tells about what he has to do. Then this leadership and management also, these two things if we see, this Arjuna, you call him a leader or a manager or what? He was neither. He was basically a confused man. He was a leader. In fact, He had earlier fought several wars, and then he had also acquired a lot of wealth, and then he had fought several people. Because he himself, he has that training as a Kshatriya, as a ruler. Because in those days, rulers also had a full training, the spiritual training, the spiritual aspect of training was very much there for rulers. There is one shloka, pardon me, because all the people have introduced me as some Sanskrit scholar and whatnot. I may recite one or two Sanskrit shlokas here and there, so please pardon me. There is a syllabus prescribed for the rulers in olden days, that is Anvikshaki, Trayi, Varta, Dandanitischya, Shashwati. There are 4 subjects which were taught to rulers. Anvikshaki is logic, because a man has to know what is right and what is wrong, whether the other fellow is correctly putting forth his point or he is leading into a logical fallacy. So that is number 1. Trayi refers to the Veda, the Upanishads, and the Dharma, the entire Dharma which is symbolized in those Upanishads. Varta is Loka Vyavahara and then business. For any system to develop, proper economic grounding has to be there, the economic policy. And lastly, Dandaniti. Dandaniti is criminal jurisprudence, punishing the wrong fellow and then rewarding the right fellow. If Dandaniti is not there, nothing will succeed. So Arjuna had already been trained, a fully trained man, but suddenly got disoriented. So from that point of view, if you see Krishna giving some sort of counseling, then there is another wonderful line, a wonderful phrase in Gita. There is a term called Rajarshi. You must have heard about the word Rajarshi. It comes in the commentary given by, not even the commentary, it is in the first shloka of 4th chapter. Imam vivasvate yogam Proktavanahamavyayam. Then second shloka, Evam parampara proktam imam rajarshayo viduhu. The word Rajarshi comes in that context. And then there is a beautiful commentary. Rajarshi is the same thing. Raja, he is at the same time, he is a king and also a rishi. He is a ruler with a heart. Basically, he is a ruler who is also a wise man. He is a ruler with a heart. That is what is meant by Rajarshi. And in fact, some of us who have read Socrates and Plato, you also have heard philosopher king, the idea of a philosopher king, which Plato talks about in his book, The Republic. So there's something similar has been told by our people also some 5,000 years ago about a Rajarshi. And then there is a beautiful line in Shankaracharya's commentary. It says, Jagat palayitrunam kshatriyanam baladhanaya. Gita, the purpose of Gita, what he tells about this so-called pravrutti dharma and nivrutti dharma, that is what one has to do in this life and what one has to do to think about nivrutti, about liberation. So these 2 things he has categorized, and having said, he says, all this thing is meant for the kings. It is not meant for retired people, it is not meant for anybody. And king is, at the same time, he is a ruler, he is a leader, he is a manager, everything. Jagat palayitrunam kshatriyanam baladhanaya, basically to impart, to infuse some strength in them, tena hi yogabalena yuktaha samarthaha bhavanti. And then he says, Brahma kshatriya paripalite jagat paripalayitum alam, which means that if you take care of the king, and if you take care of his advisor, his bureaucrat, his counselor, his advisor, whatever it is, his guru, political guru, then the entire world can go on very, very smoothly. The Jagat Paripalanam will become very, very smooth if you can take care of 2 aspects, that is the king, the ruler, and then the administrator, the bureaucrat. Maybe today all of us, like IAS and IPS people, we are the people who are supposed to guide, we are supposed to make some policy strategies, prepare some strategies and brief the political leader, and then the political leader, of course, he is the man who takes the decision. So this is the balance between the political leadership and the bureaucratic leadership. So the bureaucratic leadership is at one, they both are leaders. Bureaucratic leader, because we know as students of political science, we know that power is divided, political, executive and judiciary. And then in this executive, the important component of executive is the bureaucrat or the bureaucracy. So how this bureaucracy, can we see how this bureaucracy is there now and how the political system is there now? Do we have any training, like the training we had for the kings? Until recently we had very eminent kings in the sense that they were highly learned people, judicious. So how exactly our people are comparable to them, and how exactly our bureaucrats are comparable to them? This we have to see, and we all read in papers about some couple in, some bureaucrat couple in Madhya Pradesh. They were arrested because they were having some assets in the sense the money which they acquired through corruption. So that amounted to about some phenomenal 300 crores. So the husband and wife team, they amassed a wealth of about 300 crores. And then such stories we hear every time. And the moment you open today, my heart sinks. Of course, Sri Jayaprakash Narayan was very, very optimistic. And then he has that mission. He has that missionary zeal. And how many Jayaprakash Narayans are there in politics? Because a leader is one who has to give up something. He has to give up something which he already has. A leader, there is a small difference between a leader and a manager. A leader is a chap who goes out of the system if required. He knows the pulse of the people. He embraces the higher goals, which my friend Vijay Menon was just saying. He has to embrace some higher goals. Unless you embrace some higher goals and leave certain things and make some sacrifice, you will not become a leader. And probably I find only Jayaprakash Narayan is the only exemplary person in Andhra Pradesh who quit IAS when things were favorable to him. It is not as though he quit his service when things were unfavorable or when the chief minister was very angry. He was the blue-eyed boy of the then chief minister, and then at that time he quit. So I consider him as a person who has made a personal sacrifice for a certain higher goal, and then he defined to himself a larger frame of reference, and then he wanted to get out of the limited frame of reference and wanted to function in a higher frame of reference. A manager is a fellow who is only in a system. He doesn't create a system. There is already a system which is created to him. There are already certain resources to him, and only he has to only manage those resources. And maybe occasionally he may become a good leader by leading a small team within that organization for achieving certain higher goals. Like Sridharan Menon was saying about Sridharan, one of the very prominent CEOs in the country. So this man, can we call him a leader or a manager? He is both. I feel he is both, because basically he has got that background which he described. He is having his sadhana. But one thing which comes to me as a sad reminder is that this is what is disappearing. Till recently, till about say a generation ago, we had people who were who were born and bred up in that background. But now that culture is decaying. And the parents today, they are not even teaching some fundamentals to their children. I find that some of the teachers, some of the scholars, they don't even teach Sumati Shatakam. We are all familiar with Sumati Shatakam and Vemana Shatakam and books like that. And I always felt that in fact, I am not a management man at all. For 34 years, I have worked in police, and I have only spoken to our police people in rather harsh terms. I never spoke in very, very gentle terms. So I was always a person that police culture has gone into my blood. So I was not very comfortable with management jargon also, because in fact I was always feeling that this management is something which is nothing more than common sense. I always very strongly believed that my Bhartruhari, whom I learnt in my childhood, Bhartruhari Subhashitas, Sumati Shatakam and Vemana Shatakam, which my grandfather taught me, they were good enough for me. They contained all the principles of management, and then I need not read any Peter Drucker or any other man or any modern. In fact, I was brought up in that fashion. So, but anyway, right now I am trying to discover, say, some of the management principles as I was saying. Then one very, very important point which Swamiji said and also Mr. Menon said is about managing self. All our philosophy basically talks about managing the self only. All other people, they want to change others. They want to change, anybody wants to change. You want to convert another fellow into your way of thinking. But then here, the entire philosophy, our entire philosophy talks only about self-management. It only talks about how one has to become pure and pure and pure, so that you efface yourself to the extent of, when you talk about the ultimate liberation or Nivrutti Marga, it goes to the extent of totally obliterating the self and then become one with the Brahman. That is the level which they talk about. So we need not go up to that level. He is only shown as a sort of role model. That man, the person who gets liberation or who totally abandons everything and then chooses that particular path, he is shown only as a role model. But then everybody cannot follow. Everybody has to follow certain rules in the society. And then he has to follow his own dharma. The society prescribes him a particular role and he has to follow that role. So our basic, our entire philosophy talks only about this self. And I was telling, my regret is that this philosophy is dwindling because we are not studying, we are not seeing there what is in our own books. And one important thing which has been told by our people is that you please dwell into our books, and at least for half an hour I repeat the same counseling advice which Mr. Menon gave. At least spend half an hour a day to just see what is there in our books. In fact, that is how I started, and I developed some interest in this. Then there are many things which I can say, but then I don't want to say because it is already 1:30. Lot many shlokas I have noted down and then what they teach. At least one or two things I will say. For example, one thing on say the people, one important thing which is that people do expect leaders to guide them. Society basically expects leaders to guide them. There are so many issues, and then all great leaders have only said, they have only identified the people's problem. They have got a sociological awareness. They have got a sociological awareness, and then they identified with the people's problem and then led, in fact, created movements. In fact, crisis basically produces leadership. Any type of crisis only produces leadership. When our country was, for example, one simple example is our own struggle for independence. At that time, the people who were leaders, they were the people who were very deeply into our philosophy. You know who is the political guru of Mahatma Gandhi? Gopalakrishna Gokhale and Balagangadhar Tilak. They were the people who were considered as the gurus. And then Tilak is a man who wrote about Karma Yoga. Gopalakrishna Gokhale and Karma Yoga and Tilak, these people, they influenced a whole generation of leaders who were there, who made personal sacrifices, and then who were there in the forefront for our freedom. So this is a situational leadership, and this, if we see the shloka, yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata, you replace the old words and use the new words like situational leadership or crisis produces leadership. This is exactly what the shloka says, the crisis produces leadership. And leader is one man who is not only, he should not merely have knowledge, but also have values. This is another point which has been told. And then repeatedly Gita says, sama buddhir vishishyate, one who is equal to all. So only such person, he can be a leader. And how many leaders can we find? We can only get very, very rare examples of somebody like some Tripura chief minister whose wife travels in an auto, I am told. And then that is what we see in papers. The Tripura chief minister is a CPM man, communist man, and communists basically they are also humanists. But one good thing about them is that they are very humanists. And then, in fact, sometimes I also feel then even the Naxalite leadership that is accepted by many people because they identify themselves with some of the problems there in those areas which have not been, I say, addressed to, which have been either forgotten or the administration is not able to reach them. Unfortunately, they have been misdirected, they have been asked to hold a gun and then fight for them. That is the only reason why the police is pitted against them. Otherwise, their leadership also is accepted by society, that is why people are there behind them. So likewise, we can find many examples of leadership in our own, all around us. If we see these, say, principles which are mentioned in the Gita, like this yada yada hi dharmasya, samabuddhir vishishyate, and things like that. Then emotional intelligence is another thing which is talked about in shlokas like dukkhesh vanudvignamanaha, sukhesh vigataspruha. In all these things, you are not supposed to give tension to others, nor are you supposed to take tension to yourself. And this is what the people, our friends were saying. Because when I interact with some of the management people, very recently I had a couple of say incidents from employees in Deloitte. One of my relatives works in this Deloitte company. and then their own colleagues, while speaking to somebody, while receiving some overseas calls, there are cases, it seems, the people, they developed some chest pain and then they collapsed. In fact, they told that there are several instances like that where people, they are in some overseas call and then they just collapse. And then one chap wanted to go to, say, US. He was supposed to leave on the next morning. Suddenly on the night he collapses. People have so much of emotional disturbance. They do not have normal family life. That is another problem. Young people at the age of 25, 30, at the age of 30, they develop all heart problems. So that is because they have not understood the context properly. Probably they are overreacting. They are identifying themselves with the work so much. And another point which Meenan said is that you are supposed to isolate yourself from the problem. This is what exactly Gita also says. You are supposed to isolate. Like, say, the person who is there in the job, but at the same time, in the job in the sense, in the task, but at the same time out of it. There is a beautiful shloka for that also. There is one shloka called Saktaha Karmanya Avidvamso Yatha Kurvanti Bharata. For those who know Gita, you can know that a very, very dispassionate management of your problems. You see the problem, you analyze it analytically, and then you be out of it. You need not identify with the problem. So that is one thing which will give you some guidance. So with these few words, I think I have spoken for 15 minutes. I only wanted to speak for 10 minutes. I only repeat that all our philosophy talks only about self-management, about managing your own emotions, your own sattva, rajas, tama and all that, your own raga and dvesha. This is what it talks about. So kindly try to know our own role models. There are a lot many role models in our own history. For example, Shankaracharya, he was a great role model. Vivekananda was a very great leader. Vivekananda, in what sense was he a leader? As Jayaprakash Narayan told in the morning, he brought out our philosophy from the holy precincts of the Pitams and all that, and then he presented to the modern audience in the modern language. If you see Vivekananda's books, he doesn't talk jargon. He will not quote any shloka. At least I have quoted some shlokas because I was asked to speak on Gita and management. I was forced to quote some shlokas. But Vivekananda, if you read his book, he tells about the crux of the issue of Karma Yoga, and then he never uses a word which is there in all this technical jargon he avoids. So he tells things in a beautiful manner. That is a great contribution. And then one more thing we may rather misunderstand Jayaprakash Narayan, so I just want to make some small amendment, because when he said, it is not proper to say only Namaste and then keep on worshipping without doing service to mankind. It doesn't mean that Vivekananda was an agnostic or an atheist. Kindly don't think that Vivekananda was an atheist. He very much, he was a person who actually took out our philosophy, our Upanishadic philosophy, and then he produced it before the modern man in a modern language. So kindly don't misunderstand what he said. Probably he told in a slightly different, context. So he was not an agnostic, nor an atheist. He was very much a man within the system. He was very much within the dharma, and then he basically reinterpreted the dharma for the modern times, and that is where his leadership came. When when people had their own concepts of dharma, and then they were confined to one particular section of people, he took it out and then gave it to all of us. So this is one important thing. So again, my best wishes to all of you. You are right now neither managers nor leaders, but most of you will become leaders and managers. You have to now decide what exactly you have to do. And leadership is there in all fields. You can, leadership, all of you need not go to companies only, and I very strongly feel that good people have to enter the All India services also. In fact, I personally feel that lot many people who do their IITs, they have a great advantage, because IIT, it gives them a very good training. The people who have come to IIT, they are already fairly tested people. But then, again, a question of values. The people who join IAS today or IPS today, the very next day he wants to build a house. So that is what is happening. So I want that more and more good people have to come into All India services. That is where the future of the country lies. Because, as I said, Power actually is divided between two things. Though they technically say the public administration books say executive, political and judiciary. Judiciary, in fact, they have a slightly different type of power, basically to interpret law. Whereas the executive and also the politician, these are the two people who have the entire raw power with them. They are the people who have to mold the society. So unless some more good people come into the system, we will not be able to see that the system goes on the lines of dharma, having some good values, etc. So I feel, you please think, all the MBA candidates, you need not go to some private job like a Deloitte and then have some heart problem by the age of 30. Please think about All India Services. The world is much, much larger than you think. World is not made only of money and money. So if you just try for that only, you are confined. Your frame is very, very narrow. Kindly know that an IAS officer sitting in Delhi, he will be managing, say, a budget of about 10,000 crores. And not that he can make that much money, but if he is an honest man and then if he is a good policy maker, so you see how much public good he can do. So please think on those lines. I want that more and more good people should become good leaders in a really effective field and not leaders or managers in some Deloitte company or some other company. Thank you.